morning. Today we'll be looking at color theory. So we have seen in the earlier lecture that how color is one of the important elements of design and it plays a crucial role. So we'll be seeing today that what is the role of color, and we will be covering aspects of color wheel, color harmony, color temperature, hue, tint, tones and shades, and also some examples, and as well as some color theories from the area of artists and scientists, researchers who have put together these theories to understand the color better and more in a quantitative manner. So, color theory we can understand as a set of principles or guidelines that help us create nice visuals, to have how to create pleasing and effective compositions. So we'll see how we can do that with the help of colors. So this is a basic color wheel. You can see on the left that how the colors have been put together in the form of a wheel. I think we all are probably familiar with the color wheel. And then we can see the second circle is of the primary colors. So there are three primary colors which are red, blue and yellow, and it is said that these colors cannot be created, but with these colors you can create multiple of colors. And then we have secondary colors. So when we combine two of these primary colors, we get a secondary color. So when we combine red and yellow, we get green and so on. And when we combine the secondary color with primary color, we get tertiary colors. So these are the basics of the color wheel. Now color harmony is important because it refers to the pleasing combination of colors and how in our design, if we are creating say a web page or an application, what colors will go well together and how do we come up with these color families and the color combinations which will give a very pleasing effect to our work. So some of these color harmonies are complementary colors. Now these complementary colors sit on the opposite side of the color wheel. So we can see here that complementary colors are, for example, red and green because they are on the opposite side, and also we can see yellow and blue. Now analogous colors are the colors which sit next to each other. They are neighbors on the color wheel, and we can see here that orange, yellow, so these are the analogous colors and these create the analogous harmony. And the next is a triadic. So these are equidistant from each other on the color wheel at three different equidistant points and they form sort of a triangle. There are these other color harmonies as well. So we have the monochromatic. So monochromatic is when we create it from one hue, and hue is the color. So when we say color, the technical terminology is hue, which is the pure color or pure pigment. So when we take one hue and we add white or black to it, so that creates the monochromatic color theme. So for example, if we take blue and add a little bit of white to it, and then also to the hue blue we add black, so it will create this monochromatic theme for us. Then we have the split complementary. So these are the combination of complementary and analogous color schemes. So we have two neighboring colors and one on the opposite spectrum of the color wheel. So that gives us the split complementary. And we have seen triadic and a tetradic is combining two complementary pairs, so which gives us a rectangular pattern like we can see in the diagram here. And also we have square, where we have again four colors, but they are evenly placed around the square. Just like in the triadic we had equidistant colors forming a triangle, we have colors equidistant from each other but forming a square. Now temperature is a very important aspect of color because when we are talking about color, we also perceive colors in terms of them being warm or them being cold or cool. So now these colors which we say are warm or cool, so they are not just warm or cool in terms of their wavelength or just because they appear warm or cool, but also because they create that kind of emotion in the user. So certain colors, they will make us feel warmth and certain colors will make us feel cool or colder. So now we categorize some colors under the warm category and certain in the cool category. So reds, oranges, these colors convey warmth, whereas colors like blue and green, so they convey the feeling of being cool. So sometimes when we are maybe out shopping and we want the shopkeeper to show us more variety in the particular cloth that we have selected, so we ask them to show us more shades. So generally we use the terminologies like hue, tint, tone and shades in the similar fashion. That is a very generalized or a generic way of addressing the color. But however, all these terminologies have very different meanings. Now, hue is the pure color, like I mentioned. So, color, we refer to color like red color, blue color, but that is actually the hue. So, red hue or blue hue, so that conveys that the purest form of the color. Then tint is when we add white to a particular hue. So, if I take red and I add a little bit of white to it, so it will become a little bit lighter. The saturation will decrease. It will not be as vibrant as the pure hue is. So it will, and if I keep on adding a bit of white further to the acquired new color that I have, the new tint that I have, it will lead me finally to the color white. On the other side, if I keep on adding a little bit of black to the pure hue and then that gives me a shade, and then I add another bit of black to it, it gives me another shade of the pure hue red. And if I keep on doing that, so it will lead me to the color black. So we can see here on the screen as well that color, when we add white to it, it becomes the tint. So when we are adding white, so it becomes a tint of that same hue, and when I am adding black, so it is becoming the shade of the same hue. Whereas if I add grey to the hue, so it will become the tone of that particular hue. So we can see in the bigger wheel here that on the outer most ring we have the hue, which is the purest color. Then we have the tint, that means we have added white plus hue. Then tone is color grey plus hue, and shade is color black plus the pure hue. In this particular case it is orange, and you can see that for each and every of these hues we can now identify the tint, the tone and the shade. So these colors, like I mentioned, that warm colors and cool colors, they also generate emotion. So colors are really significant when it comes for one to communicate the feeling, because before someone even reads what is on the website, the color communicates the feeling that is to be generated or the developers want to be generated from that particular website. So color becomes a very important medium for communication, and we can see here that some of the colors that are on the screen, so how they are communicating certain aspects, certain emotions. So for example, red stands for excitement, strength, love, energy, and for that reason on Valentine's Day we see a lot of red around us. We don't see black around us, because black stands for dramatic sophistication, security and formality. At the same time, we should also remember that in different cultures, different colors also have different meanings. So people associate different emotions with different colors as well. So it will not be wise to generalize this around the globe, because for example, in certain cultures, when people get married, they wear the color red because it is auspicious for them. But in some other cultures, people wear the color white because for them that is auspicious. However, for the other cultures, white is an inauspicious color. So similarly, there are certain other associations with colors, because the red color, where it stands for love, it also stands for danger. So now, so we have to take care of these cultural undertones so that we do not end up hurting any sentiments, or we do not make people repel from our particular website. So that is also important to note. So similarly here we can see that different colors stand for different kind of emotions that they convey. So we can see here on the bigger wheel that how these colors have been incorporated by all these big conglomerates, big companies for creating their logos. Because we know that on a psychological level, on a level which is also maybe subconscious level, we lean towards certain colors or we associate them with certain feelings, like I mentioned in the previous slide. So now keeping that understanding in mind, these logos have been developed because, for example, we see that the color red stands for energy, passion, warmth, impulse buying. So, keeping that in mind, the brands like Kellogg's, Coca Cola, Toyota, Canon, etc., so their logo or the way their company name is written, that is in the color red. If we see color yellow, which stands for delight, cheerfulness, and vibrancy, so we can see that applications like Snapchat, also website like National Geographic, and also McDonald's, so they have the color yellow in their logo. And when it comes to luxury, mystery, exclusivity, premium quality, so which is for the color purple, and for that we have certain brands like Cadbury, Yahoo, Milka, Hallmark. So that is the feeling that they want to generate. So it becomes quite interesting to note that how these companies are also utilizing these the psychology of color to communicate with the users on a subconscious level. And here on the right, we can see that how the McDonald's color comes from the color yellow. So the logo has that color because they want to communicate cheerfulness, happiness, and it is, of course, also an area which children enjoy a lot. They have happy meals, so they want to communicate the feeling of happiness, cheerfulness. So that is how they are utilizing the color yellow for their endeavor. Now let us look at few design theories regarding color, and these are very important because they have helped us understand the color and its application to a better level. Now this is the Prang system, which was developed by Louis Prang, and here there are three primary colors like red, yellow and blue, and the understanding here was that when we mix these three colors, so we get the all the colors that are possible, but these colors are not cannot be created, so they exist in nature. However, this has certain setbacks when it comes to application, because there are many other theories in which we have some additional colors, because these three primary colors are sometimes not enough to come up with, for example, say the printing work that we have, for which we have CMYK. So this has a limitation. However, it is an important theory in the domain of color. So the next theory is the Munsell system. So this is by Albert Henry Munsell, and he provided us with 5 principal hues, which are red, yellow, green, blue, purple. So the purpose of Munsell to come up with this particular theory was that he wanted to quantify color. He wanted to understand color in such a way that we could use it in a more quantitative manner. So we hope that we understand what is quantitative and qualitative. So of course color is also qualitative, which means it is also subjective, wherein some people prefer red color over blue color, and that is why some people go for red cars and others go for black cars and so on. But how to quantify colors? So for example, pick the exact color, because we're talking about a time where we did not have the computers, we did not have a very systematic way of organizing the color which we have now, and that is all thanks to the scientists and researchers and artists like Munsell, who came up with these order in which the color now was organized. So he wanted to develop a color system, and it is also said that while he was painting a sunset, he was quickly trying to capture the colors, but he was unable to do so at the speed with which the sun was setting. So he wanted to know that which color is changing into the other color. So now we know that we have Pantone and we have other ways in organizing the colors. We have all these color palettes from different paint companies. So at that time, this system was not as organized. So this is where he talks about organizing these colors. So if we see this diagram here on the top right, so he arranged all the 5 principal hues that he included in his system, and then of course after combining these two colors, so we would get the secondary color. So for example, when blue and green was combined, it gave us blue green. So now he had a total of 10 colors, like we can see, which are in a circular manner. So ultimately what he created was a sphere, and we can see a vertical pole in the middle of this circle, and that pole is for the value. So as we go up, so the color goes towards white. As we go down, south pole, that is the color black. And so there is this range 1 to 10. So how the white is changing to the color black. So there are these steps in between where we have different shades or tints, we can say, between white and black. And finally, the third is the chroma, which is the intensity or the saturation of the color. So we can see that the color gray is added to the hue. So from it being such a vibrant, pure hue, now it has sort of become little bit ashy as we go closer to the vertical pole, the south, north, south pole that we have. Now, when we go up one step above the pure hue, so now again if we radiate out from this circle, so we will be at level 7 on the north side of the pole. So you can see that when we create all of these, the radiating colors, also the north pole and south pole, we will come up with a sphere. So this is what Mansell created, and the nomenclature that he gave, it was that the pure hues, they had the number. So we can see in the diagram on the left side, we can see the code 5R7/2. So 5R stands for hue, 7 stands for value, and 2 for chroma. So we know that the color red is 5R, and value on the vertical pole, we will look at the number 5, and then chroma will be the second one away from the hue. So that is how we can then map all the colors. So it gave us a way to categorize these color for better understanding. Now Ostwald system, which was designed by Wilhelm Ostwald, it had 4 fundamental colors. It was similar to what Mansell had come up with. However, there were few differences. So now here there were 4 colors or 4 hues. So yellow, red, blue and sea green. And now he used these 4 colors to come up with the rest of the colors like orange, purple, turquoise and leaf green. So this system was a little bit rigid as compared to the Mansell system. So we can see here it was similar in terms of the white and the black and the color. So here each and every hue would create a triangle, just like we can see here. So of course it will rotate again. So rather than forming a cylinder, it will form a different shape. But the limitation here was that each color or each hue would have the same number of intermediate colors, like we can see here. So for the hue green also we will have the same number of intermediate colors and so on. Whereas in the Mansell system, depending on how far would a color go in terms of creating the tint or the shade in terms of value and the chroma, so they will be uneven. All colors will not lead to, for example, say 20 intermediate colors. Some may have 25, some may have maybe lesser. So this was one of the major differences between these two color theories, which were quite similar in nature. The next theory is the 4-color process. So this is also known as the CMYK printing, and this is used for printing full color images on paper, and for this we use 4 standard inks: cyan, magenta, yellow and black. So we can come up with books, catalogs and manuals, magazines, brochures, and many other printed material. All of those can be printed. So we can see here on the top right that all these four colors, when they are overlapped, so they can come up with millions of colors. They can create a lot of different colors just by overlapping these four colors. So they are used extensively in the area of printing. Now we'll see the contribution of two important researchers, academicians. So one is Johannes Itten. So Johannes Itten was a Swiss painter, designer, teacher, and he was also involved with the Bauhaus school. And Ittens was interested in understanding the relationship between colors. So the psychology of color and how these color behave when they are in close proximity. So this is the color wheel that Johannes Ittens had created. And the next important person is Josef Albers. So he was a German born American artist and educator, and he's considered to be one of the most influential teachers in the US in the 20th century. And Albers was very interested in understanding how people perceive color, because he considered that color can be very misleading, that color is not what it seems. So he conducted a very interesting study with his students. So he asked each of his students to go back home and next day to bring the color red, what they consider color red. And we can see in the diagram below here the grid of different reds, that different students had a different understanding of the color red. So now for some it was a more bright red, for some it was a red with a little bit of pink into it, and so on. So we can see that how we perceive color. So for us also, for each of us, the color red could be slightly different. We may all not think of the exact same tint, shade, or hue of the red color when I mentioned the color red. Also, Olbers did a lot of other studies, like on the top we can see here. He wanted to see that what happens when the colors are put together, because when we are coming up with our design, wherein we have to design our family of colors, we have to pick the colors for a particular website design, for example. So what colors do we put next to each other? Of course, we have seen the different harmonies, like we have seen the complementary and split complementary and so on. But still, amongst those also, how do you place the colors together so that the effect is what we want them to generate? Now, this is a very interesting study. We can see here that on the left, we can see that there is an orange band, yellow band, blue, and then a light blue. And on the either side, we have a small square which is orange in color. So what is interesting here is that both these small orange squares are of the exactly same color. They are the exact same shade or tint of the color orange. Although here on the right, the one on blue seems to be brighter or lighter in color compared to the one on the left, but that is because of the color which it is sitting on and the color which is next to it. So that is the kind of misleading behavior of color that Albers was interested to study, that how the color deceives, because both these squares are of the same color. In fact, the smaller green squares on the other diagram are also exactly of the same hue, but they are appearing lighter and darker because of the colors which are placed next to them. At the same time, you will also notice, probably if it is visible through the screen, that on the left where the small orange is placed on the color blue, so we see that we feel that the orange is sitting on top of the color blue. So there is some activity at the edge which is taking place of the small square. Similarly, on the other side, the small green square which is on the pink rectangle, we feel that the small green square is lower than the pink rectangle. Pink rectangle is above the green square. So this is also an interesting aspect of color, that how the certain colors recede and how certain colors sort of move towards us. different combinations have different effect on our visual perception. So they also create sometimes a ghosting effect. So we can see that because the colors are all on the same level, but still we are feeling that some colors are closer, some colors are further away. So it's creating this ghosting effect on our eyes. So this becomes very important when we are putting the colors together, selecting our colors and having some background and placing a text on it, for example, or some kind of a background that we are developing, some artwork that we are creating. So it becomes very important to keep in mind that what all colors we are placing next to each other, because the color by itself, we hardly use one color by itself. So if you notice any websites or applications, you will see that a certain color family is used when we are designing the website or the application. So we don't use one color. Of course, monochromatic theme can be used, but we don't use one hue of color in the entire page. That very rarely happens. So now coming to the application of color for our design when we are designing the user interface. So there are certain steps in which we can go to achieve the right combinations of colors. So the first is the number of colors that will define the brand's color palette. So we'll also take a look at in the further slides that how do we even select the number of colors. But for our particular brand, how many colors do we feel would be enough to create the palette? The next is to use the color wheel to figure out which colors go well together. So understanding the color wheel and also looking at how colors will behave when they sit next to each other, which particular harmony we are looking at, because we want our entire website to have a certain harmony, certain unity to exist. We don't want things to be scattered or things not make sense. So for that purpose, we have to have a good understanding of the color wheel. Then we also have to see what is the link between the brand's personality and the color scheme. So we saw in the earlier slide how different brands are using certain colors to convey the brand's position or the brand's promise to the customer. So in the same manner, what is our brand communicating? Is it communicating fun times, happy times? Is it communicating trust? Is it trying to communicate balance? So what is that feeling it wants to communicate? What is it that the brand stands for? And then we can select the color from the color wheel depending on that color psychology that we had studied. Also, the colors based on the sector, like I mentioned, which sectors. So banking, if we see, maybe it will be interesting homework for you all to go and see that, for example, for banking, what colors generally do we see? For eatables, for chocolates, what colors do we see in the market? For chips, for wafers, what colors are mostly used? For medicines, healthcare, what particular colors are used for that segment of the brand? So it will be an interesting study to see that how different sectors are communicating with the help of the color alone, and how when we immediately see a certain color, it helps us connect, or it helps us recall that particular brand. So when we see certain hue of yellow, a certain shade of yellow, so we connect that with McDonald's. But when we see another hue of yellow, we connect it with Flipkart. So how the color itself, different shades and tones are also we associate with different brands. And then of course we'll have to choose one color scheme from the choices that are working well together, and also the name and the logo of a particular brand. So this is one of the very basic rules, which is 60-30-10 rule, which is also dominant, subdominant and subordinate rule. So what this rule means is that the dominant color will take up 60% of the space, the subdominant will take 30%, and the accent color will take 10%. So you may have visited some maybe homes, maybe some shopping centers where you will see that there is color which is very dominant in the surrounding, in the interior. So for example, you will see probably that there is a white color, off-white color on the majority of the walls, and then on some walls we see maybe a grey color, and then on one wall we'll see a splash of orange. So that is the 60-30-10. So wherein the 60% of the walls will have the color of white, 30% will have grey, and somewhere where we want to focus, or maybe it is a significant space, so there we will have an orange wall. So just giving an example of how these three colors can be used together when we put them in this particular rule. Now, semantic colors. So, semantic colors are basically colors from the brand, and they are a part of the design system, and they help us determine, or they do certain jobs, certain things. So, now mostly there are these four colors that are used. So, the red color stands for danger or error. Then we have the color yellow, which means caution, the color green, which says success, and color blue, which is for information. So, these three colors are generally used in the UI, wherein they have a certain specific job or certain specific purpose, and usually these colors are kept for these particular purposes itself, and they are not really changed too much. So, if you recall, like when we are trying to log in a certain website, and then we are making a payment, for example. So, if you want to go ahead, generally we will see a green rectangle, yes or go or okay, and red will be for wherein we don't want to go ahead, for it will be cancel or stop or some similar terminology, which will sort of give a warning to the user that this is for going back one step and not to go forward. And whereas yellow will give us a caution. So it's quite similar to the red light that we have on the roads, where red stands for stop, orange stands for be ready or caution, and green stands for go. So this is quite similar from to those lights that we see, and you can see that how we are trying to keep things very simple, which are easy to grasp, because the human brain already understands the system of the lights, that red, yellow, orange and green have a certain meaning. So it becomes very easy to now use that same system in our UI. If we come up with a new system where purple stands for something and maybe magenta stands for something else, so the whole learning behavior will have to change, the whole pattern will have to modify. But because we're already familiar with this system, so it becomes very easy for us to apply it in our UI as well. And the blue is for information, wherein we want to provide any information to the user, any additional information regarding the certain steps that they're about to take. So when we're talking about the interfaces, so the accessibility becomes very important, that how it should be accessible for a larger number of people. And for that, one aspect which is important is that of contrast. So the contrast is the difference in light elements between a foreground element, which is for example a text or a button, and the background. So if we have a background and a button on top of it, so there has to be a contrast in order for the user to locate that button and take action. If they are not able to even see or differentiate the button from the background, there is no way they will be able to take the action, and it will lead to frustration. So the contrast is important for them to make less errors, and we know that we want to make the design of the UI has to be error free as much as possible. So now we can see here that on the left, the black and white, which has the contrast of 21 is to 1, and on the right we can see between red and white the contrast is 3.9 is to 1. So we know that 21 is to 1 is much higher contrast as compared to 3.9 is to 1. And the web content accessibility guidelines, as per them, the contrast should minimum be 4.5 is to 1 ratio. So that is as per their guidelines. So of course the one here where red and white combination is there, it really fails. So it will not even pass the basic guidelines. So we have to be very careful when we are designing for accessibility. So Also, some other examples of a good contrast are a dark blue text on light yellow background, or white or yellow text on black or dark blue background. So maybe you can now notice our number plates, the car number plates, that the cars have white with black text and taxis have a different colored number plate. So that is because of the high contrast that they have. Also, we have these contrast checking tools. So these tools are available which can help designers see the ratio of the contrast that these colors have, so that they can take an informed decision. They may modify the colors if the contrast is not too high. Then there are certain colors that have to be avoided when they are paired with some other colors. So red and green, for example, these colors need to be avoided. Reason being that people who have color blindedness, so they are unable to differentiate between the color red and green. So there are other colors also, different types of color blindedness are there, but red and green is a very common color blindedness, and so these combinations should be avoided. Also, blue and yellow should also be avoided. Using simple fonts is another way in which we can maintain readability and easy navigation by the user. So generally a sans serif font is a font which can be read easily. The flow is much easier and easy as compared to the serif font. And using bold text, so where we want to have any impact or we want the focus to be there, so we can also bold the font at those places rather than using a different color. So that helps in the readability. And also using solid background. So text is more difficult to read when we have a background which is gradient. So for example, a red background leading to the color yellow, so in between we will have some orange, so red, orange and yellow. So that kind of a background will make it very difficult for one to read the text on top of it. So when the background is solid, for example yellow or red or orange in isolation, then the text on top of it makes it very easy for the user to read. So with this we come to the end of today's lecture, and I will see you in the next class. Thank you.